Hello and welcome back to the Project Hercules Diaries. We have had some action in the shed from the Shed Fairies, fitting or drilling and tapping these two holes into the engine cases to take the oil pump, and fitting the worm on the end of the mandrel that we made in the previous video to test that the gears don't clash and that there isn't too much backlash. And that's done over here, as you can see. So this is a Norton oil pump. There are two parts to the pump. One takes oil from the bottom of the engine case and pumps it out into the oil tank. One takes fresh oil from the oil tank and pumps it out of this hole here, which goes into the engine case there in a hole that we've not drilled yet. And then it follows that passage up out here to feed the crankshaft and out here to feed the ball joint on top of the sleeve drive crank. So it's a fair bit of progress. There isn't much backlash in that, which is pretty good, and the engine will be rotating that way, and you can see it's quite a nice fit that turns the worm, drives the gear on the end of the oil pump. Now remember, in a previous video we made this mandrel, we made this shaft here and threaded it so we could fit the worm on the end of it. Otherwise we'd have to fit the entire crankshaft assembly inside here and support it somehow just to line up this gear. So that was quite a good idea to do that. The next thing we've got to do is to drill the 3 holes underneath the pump. One of them goes down and picks up this passageway here, so which is then drilled through on the inside, which you can see here. So this hole here from the inside drilled up to pick up a drilling that comes up this way that picks up one of the holes, so the oil pump can take the oil out of the bottom of the engine case. And as we lean the engine further round in the frame, the oil level will rise depending on where we drill this hole. We now know from raw steel choppers that we've got 23 degrees in the frame, so we can drill this hole accordingly. So the oil level is about right when we've got the engine at 23 degrees. If I show you on this engine case, is a Blue Peter. Here's one we did earlier. So there are 3 holes here that are underneath the oil pump, and those are the 2 holes that we've got here that correspond to these 2 holes here. So on this engine case, these 3 holes, one is the scavenge pickup from this little well here, this one of them is a return out to the oil pump, this one, and one of them is a clean feed oil in from the oil pump, this one. And it would be the same assembly through a nose into another case to feed this engine. This is a different engine that Bob's been working on in the past. As I say, that's a Blue Peter. So there's a fair bit of progress. There are still a few complex drillings to do inside of here. They all have to line up. They don't have to meet in the middle. The oil tank will be on the front of the bike, so the in and the out returns need to be drilled from this side. This isn't a parallel face, it's not 90 degrees to this one, so there's a few things to think about there. We need to drill it from the bottom, which means all of that height needs to be on the table, which means we've got to lower the table of the drill right down and then drill and tap and plug this up. But once that's done, there are very few operations left before we start to assemble it. They're a bit complex, need a bit of thought, but it won't be too long before we're assembling the engine. The big steel plate that we bought is back on the pillar drill there, so that's ready to take the massive engine cases, and we've got a few drills lined up here to do those oil way drillings, because some of them are still quite long. This one, for example, comes from there right the way up to just under here, so it's a fair length to drill through, and we've got to meet the hole that comes down from the top. So still a reasonable amount of work there, but not too bad. So that's the latest progress update. As usual, thank you for watching, and I'll speak to you all soon.